Well, it's the first Monday of the month of October. The year is 2021.
Good evening and welcome to Channel 1 Prime Edition.
We value you. Engage with us on our social media platform.
On Twitter at KBC Channel 1 News, at Purity_Museo, at Mboya24. The hashtag to use is Prime Edition.
Top in this live broadcast. The Pandora Papers. President Kenyatta undertakes to issue comprehensive statement on report questioning First Family's offshore investment.
Roadmap to 2022. REBC begins mass voter registration.
There will be an extension effective today of the containment measures, including the curfew hours that are there.
Not yet over. Government extends nationwide curfew by another 30 days.
Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Purity Museo and Lucy Mwaura is a sign language interpreter tonight.
And my name is Mboya. Straight to our top story. President Uhuru Kenyatta is tonight assuring the country that he will issue a comprehensive response to financial documents released by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, ICIJ.
The head of state says the Pandora Papers and subsequent follow-up audits will lift the veil of secrecy and darkness for those who cannot explain their assets or wealth.
Edward Kabasa reports.
The ICIJ report alleged that the Kenyatta's offshore investments, including a company with stocks and bonds worth $30 million, were discovered among hundreds of thousands of pages of administrative paperwork from the archives of 14 law firms and service providers in Panama and the British Virgin Islands and other tax havens. The report, however, did not indicate whether the monies were linked to state assets. President Kenyatta on Monday said the report will go a long way in enhancing the financial transparency and openness that is required not only in Kenya but around the globe. President Kenyatta said the movement of illicit funds, proceeds of crime and corruption thrive in an environment of secrecy and darkness. The head of state said that the Pandora Papers and subsequent follow-up audits will lift the veil of secrecy and darkness for those who cannot explain their assets or wealth. He said he will respond comprehensively upon his return from a state visit to the Americas. For Prime Edition, I am Edward Kabasa.
Meanwhile, President Uhuru Kenyatta Monday afternoon joined other heads of state and government in Addis Ababa for the inauguration of Ethiopian Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed Ali.
Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali was re-elected for a second 5-year term in July when his Prosperity Party secured a parliamentary majority by winning 410 out of 436 seats. In his congratulatory message, President Kenyatta assured Prime Minister Abiy of Kenya's continued support in his administration's endeavor to build a strong and a stable Ethiopia. And back home, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Chairperson Wafula Chebukati has said that Kenyans working or studying in other towns need not to travel back to their homes to register as voters. Speaking during the launch of the enhanced continuous voter registration exercise at Nakuru Athletics Club, Chebukati said the commission has set up biometric equipment at institutions of higher learning to enable students to register as voters in their respective home constituencies. IBC is targeting to register 6 million new voters by the end of the 1-month-long exercise, as Safina Cheng Oma now tells us.
Meet Boniface Moore, a resident of Southlands in Langata constituency. Boniface is registering as a voter for the first time. He is optimistic that with this document, he has the power to elect the right leader in the 2022 general elections.
I just want to make sure that I also participate in putting the right leaders in place so that maendeleo tupate kama wa Kenya, because at some point we do blame them. Sasa hujapiga kura unaanza kusema amfanyiwi kazi. Maybe now my vote will make a difference. That's what I do believe in.
Boniface is among the 6 million new voters being targeted by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission.
The registration kits stationed at the 52 Huduma centers countrywide will be open such that anyone who wishes to register will be allowed to select a registration center of their choice and their details captured to the selected center. We therefore appeal to Kenyans and especially the youth, the first-time voters to be who have recently acquired national identity cards but are yet to register as voters to turn up at our registration centers.
In Kisumu, most registration centers experienced equipment failure, with officials expressing optimism that the turnout will improve in the coming days.
You go to some places, the batteries are not functioning, and these are people who are very far from, maybe they're in an open ground. So we are forced to use, we are forced to look for a place with power.
Meanwhile, Mombasa County, which has 6 constituencies, is targeting to register over 371,000 new voters. The county has also scaled up registration for identity cards.
MVITA constituency alone has a target of 24,651 within this 1 month that we hope to register. And of course, each constituency has its own target based on what they had previously registered as at 2017 and the projected a population that has acquired new IDs.
Kila sub-county imetengeneza ile kitu tunaita mobile registration, kupeleka huduma karibu na watu. Katika hili zoezi tumelipangia miezi miwili. Tunatarajia kuwa tutaregister zaidi ya watu 139.
Politicians joined the electoral body in encouraging Kenyans to register as voters.
And we call upon all eligible Kenyans to step forward and register as voters, noting that every vote counts, and it is the right and civic duty of every Kenyan to exercise their democratic right.
Our question and concern as the United Agreement Party is that we're requesting that the interpretation of the word called identification document for purposes of voting and registration becomes the young people who have something called a waiting card, because that waiting card has their registration number together with their biometrics.
The exercise will be conducted in all the 1,450 wards except in Kiago and Musumba wards in Central Imenti and Kibwezi West constituencies and Mahuhu ward in Taita Taveta, which are set to hold by-elections. For Prime Edition, I'm Safin Acheng Ouma.
6 million new voters being targeted by the end of this month, so turn out and register if you are eligible. Moving on, the government has extended the nationwide curfew for another 30 days to curb the spread of COVID-19. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says that the ban on public gatherings as well as political rallies has also been extended. And as Nancy Okware reports, the move to extend the curfew comes amid calls to reopen the country so as to salvage an ailing economy.
The 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew will remain in force for 30 more days as the government looks to ensure Kenya tames the COVID-19 curve. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says COVID-19 infection rate is still high.
There will be an extension effective today of the containment measures, including the curfew hours that are there. And this is for 2 reasons. Number 1 is that we are still, as far as the positivity rate is concerned, we are still above the WHO recommended figures in terms of a 2 weeks period when you have got less than 5% of positivity rate at a high testing level.
Over the last couple of months, calls have been growing on the government to reopen the country to salvage the ailing economy.
As we head for the Christmas holidays, we need to ensure that as many people in this country have been vaccinated as possible. It is the only way we can be able to fully open our economy, and we hope to do so, during the period that we have announced. So,
to enhance accurate reporting on COVID-19, the Media Council of Kenya has launched an information portal to provide the media with factual information on the pandemic.
While the virus has negatively disrupted society, there are still many grey areas that have yet to be cleared. We have seen vaccine deniers who have peddled all manner of conspiracy theories about the vaccine, many bordering on the absurd.
We know that in times of crisis like this COVID-19 pandemic, access to accurate and timely information can indeed be a matter of life or death.
Morning, as we mark a critical milestone in support of professionals in our media. This portal we're launching today will go a long way in making our work and the work of journalists much easier.
In Kenya, the media industry was not spared. Many journalists lost their jobs. Others were subjected to pay cuts. Dwindling of revenue led to closure of some small media enterprises and the rise of fake news and misinformation as some journalists tried to make a living. And this is still continuing.
The media watchdog says COVID-19 has come with numerous challenges with regards to dissemination of accurate information.
And to the pandemic update here in Kenya, 77 people tested positive for COVID-19 from 2,415 samples screened in the last 24 hours. This indicates a positivity rate of 3.2%. The total confirmed positive cases now stands at 250,191. So far, 5,141 people have succumbed to COVID-19 after one late death was reported from facility audits in the month of October 2021. 322 patients have recovered today, pushing the cumulative recoveries to 242,857. According to data from the Johns Hopkins University, it shows that more than 234.7 million cases and over 4.79 million deaths have been reported globally. And moving on, the government will digitize land records in more than 24 counties by August 2022. With the digitization of Nairobi and Central registries near completion, the Minister of Lands now says 90,000 landowners in Nairobi will receive their title deeds 24 hours after registration.
The government embarked on an ambitious plan to digitize records in all the 47 counties to rid the process of fraud. Since 2018, operations at Arthi House have scaled down as Ministry of Land officials clean up records in Nairobi and Central registries.
We all live in Kenya. We know what has happened in our sector over the last 58 years. We don't have a very good record in terms of how we have managed this resource called land. So we have a lot of data sets.
At the National Geospatial Data Center, the nerve center of land transactions launched by President Uhuru Kenyatta, the land acquisition and transaction process is set to be simplified.
We want to be sure that when we print a title such as the one you saw me holding, we can tell you with certainty that nobody will ever take that land away from you, because national government is the guarantor of title.
Land CS Farida Karne is optimistic that the ministry will have digitized more than half of the country by the end of 2022.
Some of the counties, by the way, have like 3,000 titles, 1,400. Those ones are titles you can digitalize in one afternoon.
And with the digitization, the CS is warning fraudsters.
I'm afraid if you hold a title on a public parcel of land, it will never be on this digital platform.
Data from the Ministry of Lands shows that under President Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure, the government has issued 5.2 million title deeds out of the 12 million processed by the colonial government and the subsequent administrations. With the government having invested in an ambitious plan of digitizing the 47 counties by December 2022, the Cabinet Secretary for Lands says the issue of fraudulent acquisition of land is going to be over, something that has bedeviled the country since independence. John Jacob Curia, Prime Edition.
Let's shift gears and now move into the space of politics. Deputy President William Samoei Ruto has once again hit out at his political nemesis, accusing them of allegedly slowing down the Jubilee Party's agenda of bringing the country together. Ruto, who spoke during his 3-day tour of KISII, said that the United Democratic Alliance Party will unite the country and bring an end to the politics of the haves and the have-nots. Gladys Mungai reports.
Deputy President William Ruto on Monday intensified calls for the support of the hustler narrative in South Mugirango, KISII County, calling on the youth to register in large numbers as voters to change the country's political narrative.
Uamuzi ya vile mambo itaenda mbele. Uamuzi ya priorities ya serikali ijayo. Wewe utapata nafasi ya kuziamua ukiwa na kadi ya kura na ukienda kupiga kura, ili uweze kuamua priorities ya serikali ijayo. Priority ya kukupatia kazi kabla ya kutafutia viongozi vyeo. Hiyo uamuzi utapata nafasi ya kuitekeleza ukiwa na kadi ya kura.
Ruto also taking a swipe at persons he claimed are responsible for the rift in the ruling party.
There must be a deliberate government plan to create opportunities for jobs for the young people of our nation. Na sio tafadhali.
Leaders accompanying the DP saying leaders should focus on improving the living standards of the common man.
Nimewaambia hiyo gari nilianza kujenga imeisha break. Kama uko ndani, shuka haraka mapema. The engineers of ODM have moved and are doing UDA. Sawa sawa.
Tumesema ni lazima tutasimama na wewe kidete. Ni kwa sababu tunajua yule mtu ambaye atakomboa nchi hii ni none other than yule mwenzetu ambaye amekaa hapa.
Hata sisi Raila vile anasimama tunakataa, tunasupport William Ruto. Chama cha UDA ni chama national. Hakitaki kujua kabila. Vyama vingine vinajua maneno ya ukabila.
For Prime Edition, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Let's stay with politics, and Northeastern could be headed for a major political shift as key political players hint at backing ODM party leader Raila Odinga. At least 3 governors, senators and other key government officials from Northeastern endorsed Raila's presidency at a meeting dubbed Azimio la Umoja held in Garissa County. Kevin Washira reports.
ODM party leader Raila Odinga has for the last 2 days camped in Garissa County in a bid to popularize his Azimio la Umoja initiative. On Monday, political leaders from Garissa, Wajir, Mandera, Isiolo and Marsabit counties attended the meeting where they endorsed Raila Odinga as the most suitable successor of President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Huyu mzee ambaye atakuwa president wetu wa 5 alipigania ile multipartism, na multipartism ilileta faida ama hasara? Faida. Alipigania devolution na ikakuwa devolution ilileta faida ama hasara? Alipigania juzi BBI, haikuwa na ingeongeza rasilimali na pesa kwa county 35%. Hiyo ingeleta faida ama hapana? Ikakanyagiwa, na tunataka sasa yeye asonge mbele, amalize hiyo agenda ili faida iendelee kupatikana, kwa sababu agenda yake ni ya faida, si ya kibinafsi.
The Northeastern leaders are optimistic Raila's presidency would address their challenges, including marginalization, insecurity, poor infrastructure and insufficient access to education opportunities.
The challenge of Northern Kenya is not with the government. The challenge of Northern Kenya is with yourselves, because you do not have one common voice. And it's that common voice that we want to enshrine, that we all have it. Na tumekubaliana kama jamii na viongozi wale wako kwa serikali, wale ambao wamechaguliwa na governors, ya kwamba tunataka kuwa na hiyo sauti kupitia si chama, muungano ambao inaitwa upya.
Addressing the delegates, Raila Odinga said that he had for decades meant good for the region.
As the Prime Minister, I created the Ministry of Development of Northern Kenya and arid lands, and I appointed Honorable Elmi as the Minister in charge. Although he later abandoned me, the ministry died. But I still believe we need a Ministry of Northern Kenya and other arid lands. Given a chance, I will recreate that ministry and give it more power to unlock the huge economic potential of the region.
Kevin Washira, Prime Edition.
From Garissa, straight back to the studio right here. We have our fingers on the pulse of those political stories. This is KBC Prime Edition.
For now, we take a fast commercial break. Keep tweeting.
Ili kupata sikiza tune hii ya kibeti, bonyeza *811*962#.
Aje umefanya vizuri sana kunifikia hii simu sasa. Nimekuwa na stress kutoka asubuhi kabisa. Na ni huyu mtu ambaye alikuwa anapatiana majina ya vitu. Kwani hakutufikiria sisi watu wa Eastern Ukambani? Ni nani alisema ati wife kwa Kiswahili ni mke? Na akasema ati handbaka. Hii inabebwa na mwanamke handbaka. Ati kwa Kiswahili ni kibeti. Huku kwetu mke ndiye kibeti.
Ili kupata sikiza tune hiyo ya kibeti, bonyeza *811*962#. *811*962#.
She does have a major illness, but
how dare you do that? Lying to the Empress Mother. You wrote that?
It wasn't there when I handed it over. Someone must have added it.
But you said you wrote it yourself.
The midwife Yoon, who's working at our palace, has been punished by Eunuch Ho. Her name is Yoon Xian. She entered the palace to treat the Empress Mother.
What did you say?
Welcome back. 8 people have committed suicide. This is a rather sad one. And within the last 1 week in Nanyuki, that's in Laikipia County, 3 of them are said to have committed suicide, believe it or not, on the same day. Among the dead is a Kenya Defence Force officer who committed suicide in the Githu estate. The trend is obviously a very worrying one. Carol Kamau tells us more.
In what has become a worrying trend in NANYUKIS Laikipia County, area administration has revealed that on average, one person is taking their life daily within the town.
Katika kipindi cha wiki moja kukiwa na watu ambaye watu 7 wamejinyonga katika kijiji moja, ni shida inakuwa kubwa sana. Na sasa huyu ambaye tumeweza kumchukua kwa saa hii, tumeweza kupekua kwa mifuko yake na tumepata karatasi na tumeona jina lake, na ndio bado tutaliweka likiwa siri mpaka tuweze kupata familia yake.
The issue has caused panic among residents of Nanyuki town. The latest victim is a male youth who committed suicide by hanging himself. The Kenya Defence Force officer committed suicide in the Gedhu estate, while a woman took her life in Mwereri village by taking poison. On Sunday morning, a clinical officer at the Nanyuki Teaching and Referral Hospital hanged himself.
Katika ofisi zetu za chief, immediately mimi na assistant chiefs wangu tutaanza counseling sessions ambayo tutakuwa mtu ambaye ataingia kwa ofisi kutaka huduma, kwanza tunajaribu kuongea na yeye na tuweze kutathmini yale mambo ambaye yanakumba watu katika area yetu.
Duncan Washira, the area chief, says his office is setting up a counseling facility to help stop the trend.
Sasa sisi ambaye tuko hai na tumebaki, kila mtu ajaribu kuongea na mwenzake. Ile shida ambaye ungekuwa unapitia katika maisha yako, jaribu kuongea na mwenzako, sababu committing suicide is not the solution.
The country has been dealing with increased number of suicide cases, pointing to a growing mental health challenge in the country. Caroline Kamau reporting for Prime Edition.
Over 20,000 tenants residing in MVITA constituency, Mombasa County, have rejected a deal allegedly brokered by the National Lands Commission to sell their properties to their landowners. The locals who leased the land have strongly opposed the rate hike by the landlords, terming them unreasonable. They are calling for immediate intervention before the lapse of the eviction notice next month.
These are the pleas of the descendants of colonial coast rulers hailing from Bondeni, Mwembekuku, Mji wa Kale, Kaloleni, Spaki, Majengo, Guraya, Kiziwi and Ziwani areas of MVITA constituency in Mombasa County. The over 20,000 families stare at a possible eviction on November 1st if they fail to honor the demands of the landowners.
Kuna matajiri ambao wataka zivunjwe zile nyumba zetu, wachukue wao wafanye vile wanavyotaka.
Ni sisi tunalipa kuanzia miaka ya babu zetu, mama zetu, na inapanda kila muda bila kujua inapandishwa namna gani.
According to the locals, the landlords have been hiking rents for the past year before issuing them with what they claim is an unreasonable ultimatum.
Zamani tulikuwa tukilipa 200 kwa nyumba. Ikafikia mpaka sasa hii kuna watu wanalipa mpaka 1,500. Hali zetu ni wanyonge.
Tumeletwa barua na wakili Obunju ya kwamba tulipe zile arrears na hataki tena kuchukua hiyo kodi iliyoko.
The tenants are calling for the intervention of the National Land Commission to revise the rates before the lapse of the eviction notice on the 1st of November.
Kitu ambacho tulikuwa tunaambiwa na serikali tulipe 400,000. Hiyo 400,000 ilikuwa ni mzito kwetu, ni wanyonge. Wengine hatuna makazi, tokea makorona tushasimamishwa. Hizo senti za kazi tunazopata, chakula na kusomesha watoto pia hazitoshi. Leo tuletee mambo ya milioni 9, zitatoka wapi?
Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta atusaidie hizi ardhi, wazichukue, wawape wenye nyumba wamechoka roho zao.
Juni Karisa Mbele from Mombasa County.
Well, from the emotive issue of land, let's move to the environment. The standard gauge railway has reduced air pollution by over 20% as fewer trucks are now involved in transporting containers from the coastal town of Mombasa. Speaking at the World Habitat Day celebrations in All-Career, Naivasha, Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia further said that the government is embracing clean energy in a bid to reduce carbon gas emissions. His environment counterpart, Kerea Kotobiko, attributed the current drought, floods, hot waves and rising water levels to climate change. Jackie Wambiru reports.
As Kenya joined the rest of the world in commemorating World Habitat Day, focus was on production of clean energy with Kenyan rooting for geothermal.
Today's function is a validation of the efforts we are making in having renewable energy in this country and supporting the UN SDGs.
Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia said Kenya was grappling with unpredictable weather patterns but assured of the government's commitment to the use of clean energy in a bid to reduce carbon gas emissions. Macharia stated that ferrying of cargo through the standard gauge railway and the rehabilitation of major roads has seen air pollution by motorists reduced by over 20%.
We did also implement another flagship project, the SGR, which has removed so many trucks on the road. From Mombasa, all the way to Nairobi, and now to Naivasha as well. That also has helped a lot in terms of mitigating this issue of carbon emissions.
He said the construction of 10,300 kilometers of roads had improved use of fuel, hence reducing carbon emissions.
Those roads are not just to bring development, but also they help in terms of mitigating the emissions of carbon emissions. Because if you take, for example, the roads which have been done in tarmac, it enhances fuel consumption and it reduces pollution.
Environment Cabinet Secretary Keriako Tobiko attributed the current drought, floods, hot waves and rising water levels in lakes to climate change, for which the government is putting in place mitigation measures. Reporting for Prime Edition, I'm Jackie Wambiru.
Never do anything against your family, and of course, against you, Deanna.
You have to dismiss that young girl, Eduardo.
I will.
I'll take care of putting her in her right place.
What would have happened if you had never left me to be with Loreto?
Yes, let's not split up. We don't need to.
Yes, we can, and it's exactly what we are doing.
No, for no reason what.
Wale wana do, na ini ya wale wana milita oklu, ataka shu, etkaro ju, angalau naeza.
Nairobi grows and Nairobi lives and Nairobi is a consumer of the people who supply its energy. And the energy of Nairobi is touts, the maize seller, the boda guy.
So Eric Omondi put out a post on Instagram where he was celebrating his achievement. That is with a post of his palatial home that was just looking fine. Now Rotimi and Vanessa Mdi's bundle of joy has finally arrived to the world, and they named this little bouncing baby boy Seven Adonolua. Now Tanzanian rap goddess Rosary has been engaged. Can you imagine that?
Good evening. I hope that you are having a lovely evening. My name is Carol Jenger. Let's now take a look at the latest in the world of business. Revenue collection is likely to drop this fiscal year due to the minimum in excise tax legal row. The Kenya Revenue Authority Director General KISIT Mboro says though the authority will institute more measures to meet tax targets, the decision by the High Court that is stopping this collection of the two taxes will significantly dent the overall revenue target of 1.88 trillion shillings. Last month, the High Court in Machakos barred Kenya Revenue Authority from collecting the minimum tax of 1% on gross revenue and issued a conservatory order stopping the taxman from adjusting excise duty rates for petroleum products and other accessible goods such as beer, wines and spirits, bottled water, food supplements and imported motor vehicles. Speaking during the launch of the Taxpayers Month, KRA Commissioner General KISIT Mboya says the decision by the High Court will have a negative bearing on the overall revenue performance for the financial year 2021-2022.
If we do not implement those two taxes, we are going to significantly dent our fiscal space. As a country, it means that we are not going to be able to fund certain objectives that the government has set out to do.
We are saying that all taxes that we impose to Kenyans, they are well researched, and we are not in any way saying that those taxes were just some imaginations.
KRA had targeted to collect 3.7 billion shillings from the 4.97% inflationary adjustment and 20 billion shillings from the minimum tax.
If we lose that money, then it means we have to cut down somewhere else on certain services, which I believe is not good for Kenyans.
The taxman says they have served notice of appeal to reverse both rulings and are waiting for the mention or hearing date.
Minimum tax is a very sound tax decision or policy measure. A business cannot continue making losses and not closing down, enjoying the services of this country and not paying a penny.
Consultations are, however, ongoing with the National Treasury to see if the adjustment of the fuel levy is a viable option, keeping in mind that funds for road maintenance are primarily derived from fuel levy, which is charged per litre of petroleum imported.
There are challenges to do with global prices for fuel, and therefore when we add our inflation adjustment, is going to affect Kenyans more. There are discussions going on around that area. To see whether we are going to implement that inflation adjustment. We are consulting on that.
KRA says the journey to raise 1.88 trillion shillings is still on course, with plans to expand the tax base by adding 2 million taxpayers by the end of next year. Smallholder farmers have been urged to embrace organic farming as a means of improving income and boosting healthy living. Thousands of farmers in Kiambu County are now adopting the practice, with many reporting benefits leading to higher quality food outputs.
According to studies by the Ministry of Agriculture, agrochemicals are some of the leading polluters of water bodies in rural Kenya. These chemicals find their way into our water bodies, polluting the country's ecology and marine life. Also, produce that has been sprayed with these chemicals, when consumed, may cause health problems to consumers.
Ukizoea kukula zile chakula organic ambazo hazina dawa, unaepuka magonjwa mingi sana. Tunaona magonjwa mingi imekuja, tunaona mambo ya kansa, tunaona mambo ya ngozi, magonjwa ya ngozi.
Farmers like Peter Maranya say they have realized improved diets in the community, compounded with better yields as a result of organic farming.
We are told take your food as medicine and not medicine as your own food. So what we are doing in organic farming is actually actualizing that, producing what we are able to for our own family and also for our neighbors when we produce enough.
Organic farming requires a small portion of land to practice, where small-scale farmers can use compost manure and produce quality foods that will help fight lifestyle challenges.
Training the farmers, we have come up with those initiatives of having farmers market, organic farmers market. We have 3 organic farmers market now running and moving.
Experts have long criticized conventional agriculture for its potential to cause long-term impacts to soil health, sustainability of yields, and the wider ecosystem, with the research showing that conventional agriculture releases more greenhouse gases than organic.
Now we cross over now to the aviation sector, where Kenya Airways plans to increase the number of flights to London in a bid to cash in on the rising demand. This comes a month after Kenya Airways was removed from the UK's red list, which had choked demand. The national carrier says it will add 4 flights weekly, up from the current 2 to Heathrow Airport. The UK route is one of the most profitable routes for the carrier.
Demand along the London-Nairobi route plunged in April when the United Kingdom government added Kenya to the red list, choking passenger numbers by more than 70%. Following the UK decision, Kenya suspended all passenger flights to the UK, effective midnight 9th April 2021. Kenya also retaliated by requiring all passengers originating from or transiting through UK airports to go through mandatory 14-day isolation at a government-designated facility at their own cost upon entry into Kenya. According to Kenya Airways data, Europe accounted for 20% of its revenue in 2020, bringing in 10 billion shillings out of the 62 billion shillings that the airline posted. A statement from the airline says, and I quote, "We shall be adding flights to the UK to 4 a week, with a possibility of a 5th one depending on demand," end of quote. However, cargo flights between the two countries were not affected by the red list decision. KQ is deploying additional flights on the Nairobi-London route at a time when the summer season, which is normally characterized by high demand for air travel, is at the tail end.
Kenya plans to eliminate dirty cooking methods by the year 2037 to curb illness related to dirty fuels. This has seen various policies being implemented in the country, making Kenya a leader in the use of energy-saving stoves and jikos. A group of women in Migori County has taken advantage of the prevailing demand for clean jikos and stoves to empower their community financially using available clean stoves making technology.
In Kenya, 76% of population relies on traditional biomass for cooking, with serious implications for public health estimated at around 15,000 deaths linked to indoor air pollution. The use of clean energy has become a market niche that has been filled up by women who are main users and producers of household energy.
More than just users of clean energy. That is why we want them to be distributors, and the best way they can do this is through entrepreneurship, where they sell clean energy products as they promote and empower communities to be able to adopt this technology. The project has trained 400 women entrepreneurs, and they're currently embracing different value chains in the energy sector, such as promotion of solar products. We have some who are making briquettes as a clean fuel, and we have some who are producing improved cook stoves.
While access to wood for charcoal declines, briquettes offer a practical solution to supplement the use of wood as fuel.
Mimi huwa ninafanya supply na ninafanya installation, ninafanya assembling. Sasa in a month, saa zingine naweza make hata 100,000. Saa zingine ina depend. Kuna wakati soko hakuna na kuna wakati kuna soko. Lakini mwezi hezi pita bila nipate pesa ya jiko. Ikiwa chini kabisa naweza tengeneza kitu kama 20,000 per month.
Briquettes are more sustainable and more energy efficient and could reduce the pressure on forest and lower pollution.
Well, and we hope more families adopt clean energy cooking methods. And that is how we round up a business news for tonight. My name is Carol Jenger. Have a good night. Sports update is coming up next. Take care.
Especially hapo kwa kujibu maswali ndio tunachekana na nguvu.
Nonsense. Wachezea kazi tu.
Tambia kita kufute kazi.
Haina haja. Yuko njiani. Kosa jingine tu na ajipata nje getini kule.
Pili si anti wangu ni mamangu.
Mamako? Mbona umuita na jina lake? Mkufu upo uko ndani na sio tukuvaa. Mko hapa? Huu mkufu si wangu mimi.
Sio pesa tu. Hata roho yake pia anatembea nayo hapo chini.
Leti nimekuona unakimbia kule sana mbali na kazi hizi. Unajua pia Kenya na Tanzania sisi ni majirani. Kuna collab yote ambayo inakuja labda?
Yeah. Kuna collab.
Inakuja na nani?
Sikwambii, surprise.
Wasanii wengi hawatumii mbinu kama ambazo unazitumia wewe ndugu yangu. Kwa nini uliamua kuwa na mashindano kupitia YouTube?
Kata
yeah. Ndio tumetoka.
Kata Mauna kata Obasi kata
Oh, good evening. Always a pleasure to have your company for KBC Sports with me, Richard Monga. Now, Harambee Stars head coach Engin Firat has named his final 2022 World Cup qualifier squad that will take on Mali on October 7th. The Kenyan team has left for Morocco, where they will be hosted by the West African nation in the group's third match.
Kenyans will be keen to see whether Firat will largely maintain the players that started under his charges. Zesco United's goalkeeper Ian Otieno has been number one choice and kept his place under Jacob Ghost Mulee. Daniel Sakari and Eric Ouma were most preferred as the right and left back respectively under the previous regimes and are in the final squad. Since making himself noticed in the 2019 African Cup of Nations finals in Egypt, Joseph Okumu has been undroppable central back. In the qualifiers against Uganda and Rwanda, Okumu was partnered with Tuskers Eugene Asike, but with the return of Josh Onyango, it will be interesting to see who Firat will place his trust in.
Our first training session, I wanted to see what's going on the field, what the boys will do. In general, I'm satisfied. They do what they can. We will prepare now these days with the local players who are here. I will try to explain them what I expect from them. They have to adapt to me.
Zimecheza hizo zimepita, at least tumepata point pa kuanzia. So hizi game inakuja against Mali, hiyo ndio sahi important, na kabisa watu tunafaa kujituma tupate maximum point ndio at least kwa table pia tusipoa.
James Saruni of Ulinzi Stars, Samuel Olwande of Kariobangi Sharks and Gor Mahia's Franco Thiambo are among the players who have been dropped. In the last two qualifier matches, Stade played to a goalless draw with Uganda, followed by a 1-1 draw against Rwanda. Daniel Mwendwa for Prime Edition Sports.
Well, after two draws against Uganda and Rwanda, of course, we can only hope that Harambee Stars will register a decent enough result as they aim to qualify for next year's World Cup in Qatar. Meanwhile, Muthaiga Golf Club's Greg Snow went up by one shot in day 2 of the Safari Tour Season 4 second leg at the Vet Lab Sports Club course on Monday, where 24 players made the 8 of a par cut.
After a day one score of 2 over par 74, Muthaiga's Greg Snow had the second round of 2 under par 70 to go top of the leaderboard at the Safari Tour Season 4 second leg that's being played at the par 72 VetLab Sports Club course. Snow was making his first appearance this season after missing the Sigona leg due to a shoulder injury. Day one leader Tafara Mpofu from Zimbabwe shot 4 over par 76 to drop to second place, where he is tied with compatriot Robson Chinoy on 1 over par 145 after 2 rounds. 24 professionals made cut for the battle for the top prize of 230,000 shillings. Among them is Mutahi Kibugu, who turned professional 3 weeks ago.
Played very well, enjoyed my game. I was feeling good. It's only that I messed up on hole number 17 where I went out of bounds. I was level par through 17. Then I hit it out of bounds. But all is all, I'm happy.
Down the stretch, I hold a few crucial putts, and luckily they went in. And now I'm in on the number. And I feel good. I feel like this is progress. And yeah, the next 2 days, I think I can really show the talent I have and how I can play.
A number of leading professionals have failed to make cut, including Samuel Njoroge and Alfred Nando of Railway, John Wangai of Sigona, and Justice Madoya from the Great Rift Valley Golf Resort. For Prime Edition, I am Daniel Wahome.
Also, the Kenya Hockey Five-a-Side tournament resumes next weekend after a successful start last Saturday in which more than 10 teams took part. The tournament is meant to help teams prepare for the resumption of the top-tier hockey leagues, which are yet to kick off since sporting activities were suspended after the outbreak of COVID-19. Elsewhere, Old Town beat rivals Ziwani Football Club 2-0 to scoop the MACHELE Super Cup in a 16-team tournament held in Mombasa. Old Town Football Club pocketed 60,000 shillings, a tournament cup and team full uniform after emerging 2-0 winners of Ziwani Football Club in the MACHELE Super Cup final played at the MVITA Primary School in Mombasa County, with runners-up Ziwani walking away with 40,000 shillings. Sharib Ali and Omar Abdahala were on target as Old Town emerged victorious in the 16-team tournament that focused on encouraging youths to educate themselves on political issues if they are to enforce change in the coming years.
Tournament ni kuhakikisha vijana wetu wa MVITA washikane kama timu moja, kama undugu, kuondoa grudges za vijana za mitaa. Tunawahamasisha vijana na tunawasaidia kwa wahusika wa kutoa ID, waharakishe vijana wapate ID zao kwa mapema ili wapate kushirikiana kwenye exercise ya election inayokuja.
Elsewhere, the Kenya Hockey Five-a-Side tournament takes a break this week after an action-packed weekend that saw Blazers B register the highest score in the preliminary round following their 8-0 win over Sliders in the women's matches. Sliders will hope to redeem themselves when they face Strathmore University B once the tournament continues next weekend. Meanwhile, Strathmore's Team A will come up against Blazers A. In the men's category, Strathmore's Team A will take on Western Jaguars before facing Kenya Police B, who are also set to take on the Jaguars, while Kenya Police A clash against Wazalendo A. In some of the results registered over the weekend, Kenya Police narrowly beat Strathmore 4-3, while Wazalendo lost 9-1 against Strathmore. Jaguars women team beat Strathmore 4-1 before claiming a 7-1 win over Wazalendo. To other matters now, the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon held their second and last warm-up race at Karura Forest in readiness for the marathon that will take place on the 31st of October. The warm-up race consisted of athletes and recreational runners who participated in Strava challenges and had good timings for the respective categories. That is the 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 21 kilometers and 41 kilometers categories. The physical marathon, restricted to 2,500 local and international elite athletes, will be held on the Southern Bypass with Carnival Grounds as the main venue.
This year we have a hybrid marathon. We have a physical race for elite runners, which will be held on 31st of October. It will start at the venue is the Carnival Grounds, and the race will be along the Southern Bypass. But even more exciting, this year we've got the virtual marathon. So as we do the warm-up race, we are getting familiar with the tools we'll use for the virtual marathon, which include the app Strava and also include just recording your time and uploading your time.
Part of the people who are here are running clubs, corporates, but I'm here also representing that group of the running clubs as part of the guys who are taking part in the Standard Chartered Marathon.
Internationally, Claudio Ranieri has agreed to become Watford's new head coach after signing a 2-year contract. The Italian, who guided Leicester to the Premier League title in 2016, left his role as Sampdoria manager at the end of last season. Ranieri's first game in charge is likely to be the Premier League home match against Liverpool after the international break on October 16th. Watford sacked head coach Cisco Munoz after less than 10 months in charge on Sunday morning, with the club 14th in the Premier League standings with 7 points from the opening 7 games. Spaniard Munoz replaced Vladimir Ivic in December 2020 and guided the club to automatic promotion from the Championship. And Kevin De Bruyne's deflected late equaliser gave Manchester City a deserved point after a moment of genius by Mohamed Salah looked to have earned Liverpool victory over the English champions in an Anfield thriller. Meanwhile, Eintracht Frankfurt subjected Bayern Munich to a fast league defeat at the Allianz Arena in 30 matches, following a 2-1 victory over the German champions.
Remaining, but Fabinho's goal bounced short was kept out by Rodri's sensational block. Meanwhile, Eintracht Frankfurt subjected Bayern Munich to a first league defeat at the Allianz Arena in 30 matches. Philip Kostic stuck 7 minutes from the time as Frankfurt secured a first win of the season and first at Bayern since 2000. Top of the Bundesliga, 1 point ahead of Borussia Dortmund. Daniel Mwendwa, Sport.
www.kbc.co.ke is where you can take a second look at the day's stories as well as other sports updates. But for now, that's it from me. I'm Richard Munga. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. But now, Purity Museo is back on the other side of the studio. Purity, over to you.
Thank you so much, Richard. Just before we wrap it up, there's a report from Kisumu County where the government is set to kickstart a recruitment exercise for 3,000 trainers for technical and vocational training institutions countrywide. Principal Secretary, State Department for Vocational and Technical Training, Dr. Margaret Mwakima, says the department has obtained approval from the Public Service to conduct the exercise. Wycliffe Okech with that report.
The government has set in motion an ambitious program to show up the number of tutors in technical institutions in the country. Vocational and Technical Training Principal Secretary Dr. Margaret Mwakima says the growing interest in technical courses has left the institutions in need of more teachers.
We've already now got an approval from the Public Service Commission to recruit 3,000 more trainers. As you are aware, since the time of movement of
number of TVET institutions, which has grown steadily from 51 in 2013 to 238 this year.
Our major challenge has been the number of trainers to be able to provide the skills and the training that can inform the Big Four agenda, the Vision 2030, and other development programs that we have as a country.
Dr. Mwakima was speaking in Kisumu when she commissioned a driving school at the Ramogi Institute of Advanced Technology.
We'll work closely with the Technical Trainers Institute, the KTTC, to now impart them with the various pedagogy and the other training skills so that they can now get into the classroom and deliver for us the CBET.
We are going to offer quality training. We are also going to provide the soft skills that are not being offered currently by the training schools.
Really, our commitment is to ensure that everybody gets the right training,
With the right training, then you will understand the traffic rules. You will understand really what safety matters to you and everybody else. And that is really the direction that we are taking.
All right, very well. Before we let you go, some feedback here. And by the way, there's something I've gotten off Twitter web app. They've put a message here. We are aware that some people are having trouble accessing Facebook app. We are working to get things back to normal as quickly as possible, and we apologize for any inconvenience. Now you understand why.
Instagram as well.
Instagram as well. And WhatsApp as well.
A lot of memes on how people are looking forward to having them back
again.
You know, thank you so much for watching Prime Edition this night. We have Joseph, who is tuned in from Milimani, Captain Kibet from KISIT, Nyakwa Roda is watching us from Bondo, you know, and then we have Martini Lushoto, who is saying that tuning in from Kimumu in Eldoret, Oyando Wycliffe watching live from 045 KISII branch. Thank you so much. Anthony Kamitu is also tuned in from Kitengela. Chacha Boniface also watching. Okengo from Nairobi. And thank you all for your feedback. We really appreciate. My name is Purity Museo. Lucy Mora has been a sign language interpreter tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow, same place from 9 p.m. Good night and God bless.
And I'm Mboya. Bye-bye.